Mr. Oswald, can you hear me?
We can hear you, just a little broken up, but we can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna stay on mute. I'm at the airport, so I'll stay on mute here.
Okay, great. Okay, long as no one leaves, we are at quorum. So, yes. She can do it, if you just have.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it back over to the chair, Mr. Pagan.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to start with a roll call. So, Suzanne, will you please?
Go ahead again. Cassandra?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, I heard you say if no one leaves, I will be boarding in about 20 minutes.
Okay, so for 20 minutes, we have quorum, so we're going to have to go pretty quick. So we kind of did the roll call to save time. I'm going to skip that. We recorded those who came in, if that's all right with the group, Chair? No problem?
No problem whatsoever. So let's move to the next item, which is the approval of October minutes. Do you guys had opportunity to review them?
Yeah, and I noticed that it read something like approval of August minutes. I think that should be September, correct?
September, we didn't meet because of the
Okay.
hurricane.
Okay.
Right.
So August is correct. Okay.
Yes.
My bad.
Motion for approval?
I know.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, these are October minutes that were
No, she's talking,
the previous meeting.
The previous meeting.
No, but in the October meetings,
But the
it
approval
says
of
that
it.
we were approving the August minutes, but it's correct because we didn't have a meeting in September.
Okay,
So that was my mistake. I didn't remember.
okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Suzanne, Dr. Mendez and then Suzanne.
Minutes approved? Yes. We're going to go to the next item. Mr. Keith Oswald?
First, any public comments?
Any public comments? Any comments regarding?
Let's see, anybody? Do you have, we do have a public comment. Please
Just
identify
one,
yourself.
just I wanted to,
State your name. and-
Pete Stewart, from the Office of, our Department of Teaching and Learning. Just wanted to recognize that this is Trans Awareness Week, Transgender Awareness Week, and tomorrow is Transgender Day of Remembrance. And there are several events going on in the community, including Transpire Health up on Clematis, and Compass. So, and Compass, I believe, is not here because they're doing the Smart Ride this week for, to raise funds for HIV and AIDS education and testing. So,
Thank you.
Compass is actually present. I'm here. I'm just on virtual today.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next item, the agenda, update from Chief of Equity and Wellness, Mr. Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of quick updates. So just want to congratulate our board member, Marsha Andrews, who will remain on the school board, as you probably have seen. So congratulations to her. And also, we welcome Mr. Edwin Ferguson, who will be replacing Dr. Deborah Robinson, who is stepping down. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to meet Mr. Ferguson. And also want to thank the entire community and any role that you took to help support the referendum, which had a very strong passing, if you didn't see it, 74%, which is just outstanding, against supporting school safety, mental health, CTE, and the arts teachers, as well as teacher retention supplements. So just really great about that piece. Also, we are kicking off our strategic plan work, and one of the pieces I did mention last time that Ms. Simmons has worked with different organizations and developed an embedding equity tool that's being used with all of the different work groups. There's 13 initiatives, and so in the future, do want to share that tool with you and just walk through how we're working to embed equity throughout the entire system. Also coming up in the future, we'll have to pay attention. We'll be getting close. Want to do a big congratulations to our new high school name, Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School. And in particular, I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Mendez and her support, and those of you who've reached out to her. She articulated quite well in our board meeting, and that passed pretty swiftly at that board meeting. And a great showing from the community and that support. I don't know if, Dr. Mendez, if you want to make any comment about that, but.
Yes, thank you so much. It passed unanimously. Every single board member voted in favor, and I read the name of during that meeting, I read the name of the individuals and the organizations that supported the naming of the high school. Those of you who did, who sent, they completed your name and your organization, thank you so much. Cesar Vigo, Reginald, Sue Davis, Killian, Juan Pagan, Amanda Kennett, Julie Saber, Amy Kenny, and all your organizations. I read your names, and I read the names of your organizations in that meeting to show that it was not only the Hispanic communities that were supporting this, but all of your organizations as well. And I say that we all happen to belong to this committee. As individuals, we supported the name. So thank you so much for the support. It meant a lot to everyone in the Hispanic Education Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. And one of the things I want to say, I've been a resident of Palm Beach County over 30 years now. Nothing related to age, okay? It is, but when I moved here, the Hispanic population was barely, not even 8% when my company transferred me here. And over the years that we look, through the changes and so forth, we're not Miami-Dade, we're not Broward, we're getting there. According to the last census, official census, and our organization, the Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, we work with the census office in Atlanta, and we provided volunteers for the census. The official number of the census that came out was 23.9% Hispanic, 470,000 plus. Now, you and I know that that population is a lot higher than that. Our guess estimate number is at least on the 600,000. And that's the reality. We work with other non-for-profit organizations like La Caridad Center, like Guatemala Mayan Center, El Sol, La Esperanza, and the whole thing is how are we going to support the community, and that's what it's all about. And when you look at the student population also, the official number of the 160,000 students, 37% are Hispanic. That's the largest minority in the school district for many, many years. So it is something, an accomplishment. I want to thank all the people who support naming Dr. Joaquin Garcia for the new school. And let's hope that the next, Hispanic school that's going to be named, you don't have to die to happen. Let's make it while you're alive. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great news. And the work is going to still continue because the next big challenge will be boundaries. And when you create boundaries for a high school, nobody's ever really happy. So I know DDEC does play a role in that, so please do stay tuned for that information for the near future. And just real quickly, we're holding, through the Safe Schools Department, we're holding town halls, meetings. We had one yesterday, so Ms. Wyatt, who's here today, Director of Safe Schools, is working closely with our school police department and the state's attorney's office to really educate our families about the use of weapons, bringing weapons on school campuses, the issues of vaping, and making threats to school and school violence and to others, and the consequences that go with that based on state law, and just obviously to keep our schools safe. So we'll send out the other remaining, if you're able to send that and get word out to the community. You know, unfortunately, too many students making poor decisions by their actions that have some deep consequences for their future. And because we may lose quorum here shortly, if it's all right with the chair, I'd just like to quickly go over the policy changes that are going for development based on your work on November 30th to the board. They were attached, that's all right?
Please
If
go
I
ahead.
just rearrange that? Okay, so you all received a copy of the policy that is now posted and advertised. So we did take up the voting members to 23, and we added 2 non-voting members that would be part of Classroom Teacher Association and a principal representative from the School Administrators Association. In addition, we removed Aspira and adding in Connect to Greatness. The board accepted that. They also supported a group for addressing kids in foster care. We ended up going with Best Foot Forward through board input. In addition, Volunteer Association of America, we added, because of the ones we lost, we updated the name change to Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce of Palm Beach County. And the NAACP would be a representative from the South Palm Beach County branch based on recommendation of that organization. And the board wanted to add in another organization for homeless students, so we did add in Adopt a Family, for those of you familiar. So based off board action there, recommendation. And then we just updated the other policy based on language to allow you all to sit comfortably in the space that you are online versus this wonderful boardroom here. So updating that language to allow for that to happen. So any questions or comments about the policy? It is going November 30th to the board. It's been publicized and advertised. So it'll go for
I think
adoption.
I have one question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can, oh, okay, perfect. I thought I heard you say homeless twice, but did you say homeless twice? And was there also, I thought there was some conversation about the students in juvenile justice system, something like that.
So students that are court involved.
Yeah.
So homeless, we added one organization around homelessness and an organization that supports students experiencing homelessness. That was Adopt a Family. As far as those were DGJ court involved, we went back and forth regarding having like an official agency versus what agency that actually addresses that outside a governmental agency. We didn't really land anywhere on that. Versus the other organizations kind of picking up that work to make sure that that voice is heard.
I don't know, okay, so I don't know if that's sufficient, because those students, they fall through the cracks, and I don't know that there's any, I just think we should think about that. So that's one. And then, who is Best Foot Forward representing?
Best Foot Forward supports students who are in foster care. And I missed your,
foster care, okay, got it.
yeah, and I missed your first comment because you're hard to hear.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think we should rethink and consider having someone that's representing students in the system.
Yes, yeah, I'm in a lot of different meetings around that. Maybe we can chat offline, Dr. Thaddeus,
Okay.
about that?
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay. And that concludes my report. If there are no other questions about the policy.
Any questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to the next item. It's an update from Subcommittee on District Trainings. Ms. Kimberly Spire,
Or Ms.
or another
Whittle?
representative?
Yeah, I can talk to that.
We cannot hear you.
My apologies. Yeah, so we met this morning as a subcommittee, and the direction that we're going to be taking is to be able to support the school district in a timely manner by providing feedback from a diversity lens on different topics, or whether it's professional development. Our first analysis will be actually looking at the master board analysis, specifically looking at underrepresented populations, possibly in accelerated courses and things like that, and looking at the process. So what we're going to do is a deeper dive into getting some data on some of that information. Also getting a presentation related to what that whole master board analysis process is. And then we're going to use all that information to then provide valuable feedback to the school district and DDEC committee on what we found, and provide that information to them. This was our first area topic because it's coming up in the spring, and it's something that's very timely to the district. Our next area will be going into bullying, because that's not as timely. That's going to be looking at maybe the fall of next year. So we'll be looking at that next. So, and that's really where we're at right now.
Thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Not everybody speak at the same time, okay? Okay, let's move to the next topic then, unfinished businesses.
So we did do that, so we're into new business.
Okay.
And with our challenge there, so, Dr. Thaddeus, how much more time do you have before you're bored?
I'm actually boarding now,
Okay.
so I can still be on the line, but what is it? My group hasn't been talking. I'm sorry.
Okay, so our challenge is going to be, we're going to lose quorum here shortly. So hopefully Sue Davis will join to help keep a quorum. But once we do lose Dr. Thaddeus, we're going to have to hold up on the meeting. So at this time, we talked a lot about bullying, and so what we're going to go through, I have, again, Ms. Diane Wyatt, Director of Safe Schools, Diomedes Ramos Cruz, also with the department, who are going to go through a presentation to really kind of unpack the district's approach when it comes to addressing bullying, because there's many different legs to bullying. It's not just a one-and-done type training that people receive. There's climate issues, and there's lots of things, and they'll kind of walk you through. I will interject also throughout the presentation to add in as they go along. So if I interrupt y'all, please don't take that personally, okay? All right, so Ms. Wyatt?
Thank you so much for having us here today. We do have a presentation that's going to kind of take you through our vision, our mission, talk about the statutes and the district policies and processes in which we have, and include how we infuse other items from the Department of Safe Schools and other district initiatives to help with this work, because it is definitely not work that is done in a silo. It takes all of us working together and doing that wraparound services for it in order to get us moving. I am fortunate to have Dr. Diomedes Ramos-Cruz on my team. She started with our PBS team when she moved into Safe Schools, but has school-based experience as well, and has really dove into the bullying and Title IX supports for our district, and has made herself a major expert in support to our schools for finding those safeguards for kids. So I would like to turn over to the resident expert to help guide us through these pieces that we have coming up.
Feel like a celebrity here. Hi, good morning. Nice to have you, be here with all of you. Thank you for having me again. I'm Dr. Ramos-Cruz. Mostly call me D, my first name. We're going to go over some of the vision really that we have for bullying prevention and awareness. As Ms. Wyatt stated, it is a district-wide effort. It takes a village, and we're going to dive into all of the different components of this, of our vision. Really, the district's vision for bullying prevention and awareness requires that everyone really understand what bullying is, understand that it's unacceptable, it's hurtful, but most importantly, it's preventable. And as a district, we really have done a great job to establish a commitment to a bully-free environment, to develop those expectations, those procedures, and implement those interventions or even consequences when it comes to bullying actions, right, on behalf of our students. But most importantly, we want to shape our students' beliefs about bullying. And again, this isn't just a one-man team. This includes involving everyone to create an environment that discourages bullying behaviors and mostly encourages positive and supportive action. So, you know, our district leaders do an amazing job of supporting us, of really championing our efforts to promote bullying and well-being overall. We use targeted support, early response, develop really that positive and supportive school climate and culture through our PBS initiatives. We've got really effective and supportive policies and those procedures, which we're gonna go into in a little greater detail. We integrate SEL, social emotional learning, through those practices, which again, I will go into further detail. Enabling that student voice, giving the opportunities for students to really speak up and feel valued and heard. And also that really crucial reporting, investigation, and documentation procedures, as well as training, building that awareness, and analyzing some of our trend data to make sure that we identify those needs. So what exactly does that look like for our district? We've got the state statutes, of course, that we lean on, our district policies. You know, those are all, our district policies really mirror the state statutes in exactly what bullying is and how to respond to it, and exactly what we need to do to ensure that we address it. If you'd like to say anything else regarding the policies, we're good?
No, I just go back one slide. I just want to say, when we send this out, these are, and you all have this, but these are linked, so you can go right to the statutes as well as the policies that really kind of govern a lot of this work. Okay.
Thank you. So what exactly is bullying? Because as we know, it is a great catchphrase, right? We want to make sure, though, that we use the exact definition as stated in our state statute. And that includes bullying, includes cyberbullying, and it means that it's systematic and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more of our students. So that includes teasing, threats, intimidation, stalking, physical violence, as you can see the list in front of you. Even destruction of property. Again, this is directly from our state statute. However, you know, as a district, we've got to create a more clear understanding or common understanding So we use an acronym for this to define bullying, to make sure that all of our administrators, our school staff, our teachers, and our students are on the same page. So what exactly do we look at bullying and what fits into that criteria? We use the acronym RIP, that's RIP. That R stands for repetition. This is bullying behavior that has happened more than once or even has the potential to happen again. And then we have that I, that's the imbalance of power. This is where kids use their power. It could be physical strength, maybe they have access to embarrassing information, maybe they have a greater group of friends, perhaps they perceive to be more academically advanced than another student. Those and many others can create that imbalance of power. And the P, that's purposeful action. So it's being done on purpose. It's not an accident, it's done with intent. Now, all of these components put together, the R, the I, and the P, combined will create a bullying incident. Why do we address bullying, right? And this is, a question not just for us, but I think community as a large. Bullying, as you can see here, it has really great detrimental effects, short and long-term impacts, not only on those who are bullied, but also those who witness it. And it really can have a negative effect on their mental wellness. It can have an effect on their academic achievement. And this isn't just, a one grade situation. This is kindergarten and continues through high school. And this is our why, and why we do what we do as a district to be proactive, be preventative, and enforce our policies to ensure that we really just focus on our students' well-being. There are many ways that students can report bullying. We've got our bullying hotline. Now, the great thing about all of these avenues, our district portal, website, in person, they can report bullying 24/7, and trust you me, those reports come 24/7. They are monitored. A response, is always provided to the school within those 24 hours. And not only that, but we have posters on every single campus on how to report bullying. And you see that QR code on the slide there. The students have that on a poster on their campus, and they can scan that QR code, and it leads them to the form to submit a bullying report. We really promote that see something, say something.
And this is also when they sign into their portal.
And when they sign into the portal.
You can see this pretty quickly.
And the students use it, they know it's there. Through assemblies, the administrators make sure that they outline exactly where to find that in their portal and how to submit a report.
And who monitors all of this?
Our Safe Schools Department monitors every single report that comes in. We read it. We make sure that if it's something of critical nature, doesn't matter what time it is, we advise our school administrators, even school police, if it's something detrimental. But it's constantly monitored on a daily basis, and we make sure that there's actions that are taken to make sure that those students feel safe. And what do those district actions look like? We really do have a great collaborative effort when it comes to bullying. We recognize that bullying does create an atmosphere of fear. It creates an atmosphere of intimidation. It really detracts from that safe environment that's really necessary, it's really crucial for student learning, right? And it prevents an obstacle for their well-being. So what do? Students, parents, and all stakeholders are educated on school safety. We take that really preventative actions, those intervention supports, those are all provided to our schools. Training.
Excuse me,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
We lost the presentation.
No, well, Sue Davis Killian says she's trying to get into the room, but I don't see her. Can you tell her to try to go in again? I'm just trying to get Sue Davis Killian in the room so we can keep a quorum.
I hear it.
One second, I'll try to.
Right.
We were,
Slide 10.
10? 10.
Oh, wait.
No, no. There.
there you go.
Full screen.
I just have it in the other version, so you can go ahead. All right, we're going to continue.
All right. So again, we do provide training for the appropriate application of intervention or even those consequences when necessary. And we do have a very well-established process for confidential bullying reporting, for investigation, and those documentation procedures. School administrators follow very strict guidelines for what forms they are to use and how they make parent contact, and also, most importantly, to secure those really crucial supportive measures and safety measures and prevention to make sure that there is not that recurrence. Now, we want to move on to the bullying reports. As we stated, there are many ways that students can report bullying. As you can see here, last year, Google Forms that were submitted were just over 2,000. 1,300 of those were addressed. Now, you may think for a second, why the discrepancy? Unfortunately, our students have easy access to this form, right? And they submit very frivolous bullying reports that don't have any basis, like they touch my hair, but don't have any identifying factors. However, we still have to screen those. But 1,348 of those reports were true reports. Now, that doesn't mean that was a qualifying bullying incident. Keep in mind that we use that acronym RIP, right? Repetitive, imbalance of power, and purposeful action. Sometimes when a report comes in and it's investigated, it's not substantiated because perhaps it was a conflict or something else that needed to be addressed on the campus. The bullying hotline, that's done by voicemail, 95 of those came in last year. But overall, true bullying incidents that fit the bullying criteria that were completed were 340. We're going to go over those reporting forms and exactly what that looks like when we're talking about how bullying is investigated and reported and documented, okay?
And these are the ones that the district can see. There are other bullying reports that will come in, for example, just on a school base that we may not necessarily see it here unless it ends up being a discipline referral or going through the investigative reporting that Dr. Ramos-Cruz will go over shortly. So I just want to make note of that too.
Thank you for that, absolutely. So there are other ways, as we stated, we can do it in person, but we have that data. Those bullying reports that are submitted are stored on our server, and we can always reflect back on those and look at that to make sure that the appropriate support was put in place.
And Dr. Ramos-Cruz, if I could just jump in on this slide. So one of the things I want to kind of walk through, so our school effectiveness questionnaire asks students questions regarding, at a high level, like bullying, right? So it's rare for students to be picked on or teased at this school. So 45% of our students either agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. So part of what we work with, and when Dee talked about the actions the school district takes, is one, there's meeting the definition of bullying, repetitive, imbalance of power, purposeful, right? So that's the state definition, right? Our statutory definition. But then there's also the perception of bullying, right? So students are perceiving, right? We all kind of have our own definition in our head, what we feel bullying is based on our own personal experiences. The challenge to work through is how do we address those climate issues such as where 52% of the students, or 50, close to 53, believe it's rare for students at this school to be bullied, right? So there's still a perception issue that students don't feel safe. So that's where the climate issues that we need to address on our school campus comes into play, which we will get into shortly. And then also the last question, really, when we talk about social media is brutal, right? It can be a great thing, but it's brutal for kids where they can't turn off the bullying and those issues, and they're often more challenging to investigate and follow through for school administrators when it's happening through social media. Do we do it? Absolutely, of course, but it does layer in another challenge, and part of the reason why we're having these town halls to educate parents. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. And we do a lot of education for parents as well through SAC meetings, through bridges, through other structured meetings that schools set up to inform parents on how to protect their child at home from cyberbullying. But going back to this school effectiveness survey, we see that over 32,000 students participated in this survey. And as we look at the results, right, only half of the students, give or take, believe that it's rare for them to be bullied on this campus. This data shows that roughly 15,000 of our students believe that they are bullied in school. So as Mr. Oswald stated, this goes back to that perception, it goes back to our climate. But again, we have those reporting systems in place. We have the investigation and documentation protocol. We have supportive and safety measures that we can put in place if there is a bullying report. So the systems are in place. Obviously, we're going to go into some of the things that we're doing in terms of improving the climate and getting more of those positive and welcoming school climate to increase these numbers for the following year and moving forward, of course. So how exactly is bullying investigated? Because we've said investigation quite a bit, but we're going to review what that process looks like. And you'll be able to see by yourself, on your own, is that there is a behind the scenes. There may be the perception that things are not being done, and it's quite the contrary. When an incident is reported to the school through the Google Forms, through the hotline, or even in person, there is a school-based investigation of the incident. Parent contact is made, and there are very specific forms that have to be filled out for documentation. The very first form is a 2508.
Before
Yes,
you get
sir.
into the forms, we have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
Ms. Whittle?
Hi, yes, thank you. Just regarding the surveys, do you have the demographics of the students that actually took that survey? Are they students of color? Are they students with disabilities? Do you have that breakdown as to what?
Yes, we have an entire dashboard that unpacks who took it. Unfortunately, participation rates are low the last couple of years due to, the pandemic. So those are the most recent though, right?
Yes.
So we're actually working through the strategic plan to have better data this year. We are going to kick that off, I think, in January or February, I believe. So hopefully we'll have better data later in the year. But we are able to zero in different subgroups.
Yeah.
But
to
not
me, that would-
necessarily the individual student because it is anonymous, obviously.
Right. No, absolutely not. That confidentiality is important, and definitely not the individual student. But yes, I think having the data based on subgroups would even provide, I think, even more details regarding the surveys.
Yeah, interesting, because I did look at it that way. It seems to be pretty split across different demographics. There's no one significant outlier. I don't know, when you all looked at it, I didn't see a significant outlier of any special population. That everybody, the perception is kind of equal amongst different subgroups, but we'll take another look and bring that back.
Yeah, and I was just curious as to what percentage of each of those different subgroups is actually participating in the survey, and is that a representative sample of the total population of students?
Yeah, no, more improvement is definitely needed there. I will we are working on that. That's one of the priorities.
Thank you.
Ms.
Thank
Cordero?
you.
Along
I have
the
a
same
question.
lines, actually, I was curious about what percentage of students actually responded to the survey. I mean, and you kind of answered it, but are we talking, 30% of the student body, 80% of the student body?
33,000 out of all of our student body. It was about 33,000 students. that
33,000 students, so we start in grades 3 to 12, so it's roughly probably 20% maybe. So again, improvement needed, we're going to try some new strategies. And I think Dr. Thaddeus said you have to sign off? I'm seeing her phone still there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna add to Carrie what she said, and I said I'd be interested in seeing that by gender as well, to see if there are more girls that are actually submitting the claims versus boys.
Did you? I didn't catch that. Did you? Anybody catch
Gender,
that?
she's asking about the percent of female students versus male students for.
Oh, male versus female.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I will try to look that up while we're going through the presentation to get more. Just got to find that information. Yeah, I want to get through the other part of the presentation. I want to find the one. Yeah.
Oh, wait, go up. One more. There we go. All right. So again, going back to the forms that are completed by the school, the very first one is number 2508. This is the initial incident report. This identifies the parties involved and initiates the investigation. Now, whoever's filling out this report, whether it be a school counselor or an assistant principal, routes this to the principal before it's submitted. This ensures that all stakeholders on the administrative team are aware of exactly what's taking place with those students on that campus. The next form is a 2509. This has the investigation summary. It includes a summary of findings, basically determines exactly what the outcome was, but most importantly, what interventions and or consequences were put in place for those students. And this is where that documentation takes place. Followed by the 2597, this lists the items that they're going to attach as evidence that can look like a stay away agreement, safety plan, schedule change, parent conference notes, witness notes. All of those are scanned, anything relating to the incident and attached. And again, those are all uploaded to our servers so that we, as a Safe Schools department, can review every single report investigation that is done to make sure that they have implemented all of the safeguards that need to be put in place, as well as support measures.
One of the other things with that 2597, the investigation evidence piece, that it does include, but the name doesn't give you to that information. If a school is looking at a situation that they needed to address how they were securing an area, whether it was happening on the playground or happening in the gym or those things, the training in which they did with the employees to make sure that that area was watched to a higher level or that those were done, they attached that as well. So we're able to see what they put in place to prevent it from happening again with any student, not just the 2 students as well. So when they look at that investigation, they not only look at the situation that's in hand between the individuals involved, but they look at how they can use that preventatively to prevent it from happening with other students in the future on that same campus.
Thank you for interjecting that. That was great. Yes, so I appreciate that, because that's one of the big components, right? It's not just addressing those individual students, but as a school, what are we doing for all of the other students as well? What exactly do we do as a district? We talked about it is a district effort. It takes a village, right? Our teaching and learning department, our social emotional learning department, those school counselors, they really lean on those character traits, our bullying lesson plans, which I'll show you in just a minute, our ESE department, even our behavior and mental health, support services, our Department of Safe Schools, multicultural, school police, wellness tasks. As you can see, this is a big, hefty chunk of our district that has really dedicated a lot of their resources and expertise to really nipping bullying in the butt, right? And to ensure that we develop and we implement and we monitor this framework for bullying prevention and awareness. And again, it takes a village. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, who's on the phone ending in 27?
She just joined by phone, she said. Maybe that's Sue Davis.
Sue, is that, Sue, Miss Davis Kelly, is that you in 27? You want to email ask her, that's her number? Just want to know in case we lose Dr. Thaddeus. Go ahead and keep going.
Okay, so as you can see, we have a layered approach to our training and professional development. We address bullying with students in terms of awareness and prevention, that cyberbullying recognition and prevention. And for the youngest students, we really focus on kindness and making sure that they develop those positive character traits. We've got training for parents for cyberbullying, which is one of those things that we discussed previously to ensure that safety outside of the school campus. We do that through SAC, through Bridges. We do training for teachers. Now we've got a compliance training for Title IX, which includes all district employees, and that includes sexual harassment, sexual discrimination. It has a component for teen dating violence. There's also an e-learning course that we offer. It's titled Bullying Florida Recognition and Prevention. We also have intervention and consequences training that we offer through our PBS team. And for our administrators, again, we've got this Title IX compliance training, as well as the proper reporting, documentation, investigation procedures, and also building those positive relationships. Now, all of the trainings that we offer use those PBIS, that's a positive behavior intervention and support, principles that focus on creating that positive, that supportive environment for our students. Some of the trainings that we do use that trend data from our schools when we see that there are incidents of bullying, and we really fine tune and tailor training specific to that school. And also schools offer bullying for school-wide awareness as a proactive and preventative measure. I stated the school counselors and their layer of work. One of the things that we have at their disposal, as well as anybody else on a school campus, we've got bullying lesson plans that start as young as pre-K all the way to 12th grade. These lesson plans are on our Safe Schools site, and they really assist schools to improve that school climate, to promote that positive dialogue between the students, between the teachers, and the administrators. So we're really trying to make sure we get ahead of the issue to prevent it from taking place obviously in the first place, right? Now, MTSS, as we're moving into this multi-tiered system of support, what exactly is this? It's a term that describes those evidence-based model of schooling. This uses a data-based problem solving, and it integrates academic, it integrates behavioral, and it integrates social emotional instruction and intervention. The integrated instruction and intervention is delivered to students, as you can see, in tiers. There are varying intensities, and it's really based on those student needs. The goal of this is that it's needs driven. It is based on that individual student needs. And it ensures that those available resources are allocated and they're matched to the appropriate students at the appropriate level in order to accelerate their performance. So as you can see here, we start at the bottom, which is Tier 1. This provides that core instruction, supports for all students. We may have some students that are in that Tier 2. They need more of that targeted supplemental intervention and support. And then we've got a few students, right? We've got those students that need more of that intensive individualized intervention and support. So this is a tier framework that we use district-wide to address our students' individual needs. As we move on, we stated PBIS, that's Positive Behavior Interventions and Support. This is another intervention strategy. And under this model, staff and other important stakeholders truly work together to develop consistent expectations and appropriate behaviors for all students on every area of their campus. And what exactly does this look like? Well, schools use this PBIS behavior matrix. It develops the expectations. It establishes a common language through the school. It identifies universal goals for behavior. We can move on to the matrix. So this behavior matrix, again, it creates a community. It develops that single school culture. It develops a common language. It identifies those universal goals for behavior. And the purpose of this matrix is to identify and display positive behaviors across all contexts in all settings on that campus. And this is a reference guide that is used across the entire school community, and it reinforces those key behavioral expectations during all of the students' daily routines. So whether they're in the classroom, they're in the hallway, they're in the cafeteria, they know exactly what is expected of them. If you see on the left, we've got our universal guidelines. On this one is, I'm safe, I'm trustworthy, I'm an active listener, and respectful. And as you move across the matrix, you can see exactly what those universal guidelines look like in every single setting. And this isn't a secret document. This is down to the custodians and parents. School office staff are aware of this behavior matrix and exactly what the expectations are for everyone. I have the tendency to speak really fast. Am I talking too fast? Okay. Thank you. All right, so climate. We've used this word quite a few times since we've begun our presentation here. But in a study of 33 different schools over a one-year period, it was found that the positive school climate plays a really critical role in the foundation of bullying prevention and really does help improve the benefits of a standalone bullying prevention program, right? Because as we stated, it takes different components to wrap around. And what does it look like? What do those relationships look like? How can you build a positive, supportive climate from adult to adult or adult to student or even student on student? We really focus on that data analysis to action plan. Our PBS teams on every campus, they have an internal coach, they have an external coach, and they really action plan to look at their monitoring tools. They have different evaluations that they do on a school campus, and they gather those staff voice to ensure that there is that support and training provided to improve the academics, the behavior, and ultimately the climate for that school. And just the way we use MTSS as a tiered approach, PBIS, we use it synonymously with PBIS, is an example of MTSS, of that multi-tiered system of support. And this really focuses on social behavior. It's data-driven. So we use a problem-solving framework to improve those outcomes for all students. We apply this model to align the academic, the behavioral, the social and emotional support to improve education for all students. Again, PBIS is tiered, and it goes over the data, systems, and practices for students every day. What does that look like when I stated systems, data, and practices? Well, those build a culture. They develop relationship. They support a positive climate. And again, it's the district's adopted framework for supporting those schools to create that positive and welcoming environment. It really redefines that bullying construct because it teaches and reinforces specific behaviors that are expected of students on that campus. So the idea is to really move away and not focus on more of the negative behaviors and less appropriate behaviors, but really provide training and support so that we can respond effectively to bullying or negative behaviors, but promote positive behaviors for our students. And how do we do that? PBIS really is it's an amazing framework to improve the climate culture, on a campus. It improves student outcomes, it reduces exclusionary discipline, and even improved teacher outcomes. When we're looking at student outcomes, a positive school climate is linked to academic performance, to reduce bullying behaviors, to even decrease substance abuse. And when we're looking at reduced exclusionary discipline, one of the tasks of our PBS team is to really dive into that disciplinary data. They use evaluation tools at the end of each year. Those evaluation tools are our outcome data summary. It has all of the data for discipline on a campus. That data is then evaluated, and plans are put in place for training and support for individual schools, as well as teachers. We have CHAMPS, classroom management training, that supports teachers in really supporting that school climate. PBIS starts in the classroom. Now, this is another initiative with the SEL team within our district. It's not our department, but it's something that really focuses on bullying prevention. So with SEL, social emotional learning, they have a daily meeting. During this daily meeting, they really encourage collaboration and support that social and emotional and even academic learning. They've got quarterly meetings and rituals, and they have very explicit instruction that's being done. And through this social emotional learning, it really supports our bullying prevention efforts. SEL, they also use a multi-tiered system of support for their restorative practices. As you can see here, there are some very critical preventative strategies that includes a check-in or even just restorative questioning. And as you move up these tiers, you see that then we need to respond. And how can you respond to negative behavior? To really as a preventative approach, right? So maybe that looks like a restorative meeting or mediation or even a group conferencing. So these strategies all work together to promote a positive school climate and again, drive down that perception of bullying on our campuses.
And I just want to weigh in on that, just that when you look at the type of responses to bullying, and I know this group talked about looking at the bullying training. It's not necessarily one and all. So if we talk about restorative practices, for example, there's a lot that goes into restorative training for restorative practices, interventions in general, such as check-in, check-out, a great strategy. So there's many different avenues and legs that this has. So just want to point out a couple of those examples. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I love it. Thank you. And one of the things that we are really focused on is student empowerment. How can we really grow a sense of social responsibility, right? As you know, our adults are very limited on a campus. The students outnumber us quite a bit, right? We need to make sure that we increase our practices, and this is our focus right now, of campus-wide peer-to-peer support for empathetic behavior. Really, when schools and communities provide this intentional space for student voice and participation and involvement, this is where students build those relationships. They have a deeper connection to not only their peers, but also their schools. We really value those contributions, and we promote it. And it really sets the tone for the culture and cultivates that problem solving and those decision-making skills. We really want every student to experience those positive relationships with their peers as well as the adults on their campus. So we look at this single school culture 2.0, we've upgraded, and this is a systems approach. It creates a culture that integrates all of those components of academic behavior and climate, that creates those shared beliefs, that consistent messaging, and those deliberate practices. Now, we have policies in place, we've got tons of training. That consistent messaging, even just our behavior matrix, those PBIS teams, those action plans, those all result in academic achievement and positive development for our youth. What exactly does that look like? Some of it I've just mentioned. We've got some really consistent school-wide practices, those defined expectations, those recognition systems, just rewarding students for not just recognizing them and acknowledging their presence when they misbehave, but also when they're doing the right thing. And how can we reward that? We also we put process in place for behavior management. We've got CHAMPS for proactive classroom management to teach those pro-social behaviors and to provide that really explicit instruction. Again, we've got those systems and processes in place. That's a PBIS team. We've got the school-based team. We just went over the restorative practices, that really critical multi-tier system of support framework, and the threat assessment to make sure that all students feel safe and we provide the support for them. I talked a little bit about student voice. One of the ways that we have been able to do that is through the use of Safe School Ambassadors. This is an evidence-based program that really harnesses the power of our students, and it really helps us prevent and support our bullying prevention initiatives as well as mistreatment. We know that students see a lot more than the adults see on campus. We make sure that there's safety on our campus by focusing our efforts on the inside out. Let's focus on our students, not from the outside in. So Safe School Ambassadors really harnesses the power of socially influential leaders on the campus that help shape the social norms and really govern the students' behavior. There are different specific skills that are taught and that equips the students on how to respond when they see an incident of mistreatment, and how can they provide those intervention skills for their own classmates to help diffuse potential incidents before they escalate. Now, I'm just going to introduce this. We just received the grant, so I know Ms. White is super excited to elaborate on this, but we've got the team mental health first aid, and that's going to be the end of my introduction because I know Diane has great things to share.
I am loving this piece that's been added to our department. We received a grant from the Department of Justice in order to bring in teen mental health first aid and increase Safe Schools Ambassadors, so that slide that Diomedes just went over in this. What we will be able to do with the teen mental health first aid, you have heard Youth Mental Health First Aid for Adults. This is a program that is approved to use with our 10th graders and up, that we physically go into the classrooms and teach beside the classroom teacher the skills in which they have in order to truly see that mental health challenges, how to support their own mental health, how to recognize the things seen in those around them, and to get support for their friends as well. So our grant is putting us in the first year 6 high schools, working with all of their 10th graders. The next year, we're keeping those same 6 and adding 6 more high schools, with the following year ending us up with 18 schools that we will be in working with all of their 10th grade. So those 6 schools that started out will get 10th, 11th, and 12th graders completely trained through us, which will meet their mental health requirement by the state as well. So they're not doing that twice. My staff in this grant has been able to do a train the trainer piece within it. So we are training 18 individuals to be able to be trainers for teen mental health that will leave our district with the capacity of continuing this after the grant is done. In addition to that, the Safe Schools Ambassadors is taking a complete reshape where we have had great things happen through Kim Mazauskas in our district with Safe Schools Ambassadors. We are now able to expand that team to 18 trained people through Community Matters organization that will be able to go in and help establish those Safe Schools Ambassador teams. Each team, once we finish a high school, they will be selecting teen leaders on their campus from multiple groups of leaders in order to train them in that Safe Schools Ambassadors piece and have that student voice on those campuses and continue with them, in addition to doing any other schools district-wide for the Safe Schools Ambassadors. So we're very happy to get that Department of Justice grant and to get that team working together to get this out to our high schools.
Can I get a round of applause, please? That's awesome. I love it. I'm really excited about the grant. It's got great things coming to our students.
And I'm just going to take this slide too,
Yes,
since I'm
thank
on a
you.
roll. Sandy Hook Promise is also a benefit to our district from the Department of Justice. It was our first Department of Justice grant. With it, we were able to go into 6th through 12th grade schools and deliver See Something, Say Something a curriculum with our Sandy Hook Promise coordination. So their staff came in and we were able to deliver to all of our schools. Since then, our reporting of students in 6th to 12th grade has been increased. We have seen direct relationships to right after a program was delivered to campuses, having people anonymously report very critical things on campus that adults needed to be aware of. The addition to that was that every campus, 6th through 12th grade, established a SAVE Promise Club. Now, SAVE stands for Students Against Violence Everywhere, and it is a national group organization that works under Sandy Hook Promise, and we now have those SAVE Promise Clubs on every middle and high school campus and on our K-8s dealing with 6th grade and above. So that grant gave us the ability to bring those features in and to keep it. That grant will be sunsetting in March, but it has left great supports to our schools that we are continuing even after the grant work. I'll stop now.
Super exciting stuff. I love it. So, the Department of Safe Schools encourages schools to participate in events throughout the year, one of which is Pink Shirt Day. In observance of this campaign, we really promote kindness. All students, staff, school district employees wear a pink shirt to symbolize that we're not going to tolerate bullying. There's an online bullying course that's really focused on awareness and prevention. It's available through our learning management system. We post flyers, we do a district bulletin, and then we also share information with our behavioral health professionals, our internal coaches, our school counselors, to promote this. We even actually had Pink Perry show up to a couple of campuses, so it was super exciting for some of our kids.
And year before last, right before COVID happened, we actually had a group of students, there were about 75 of them total, actually showed up at a mall and did the flash mob to where we ended up dancing in the middle, all with the pink shirts and advertising and doing, was a great event, and I'm hoping we're replicating that again this year for flash opportunities to go out and get the word in the community as well.
The right kind of flash.
Yes, the right kind of flash. We are Title
Let's be
IX
clear.
observance as well.
Yeah, Title IX over here. All right, so another one of our initiatives and awareness campaigns is Bullying Prevention Month. We just had this in October. We wear blue for World Day of Bullying Prevention. We blew up. And during this, we have a whole week's worth of activities that are outlined. And it's really part of our efforts to create that year-round anti-bullying prevention, and really helps to change the culture at our school when we're having all of these critical conversations on a regular basis. As an additional resource for our district, we've got this Tech Safe. This is offered through our technology department. On this site, there are additional resources that promote digital citizenship and teach online safety and etiquette. All students who use district technology have to receive this training to comply with our district technology policy. And part of this is cyberbullying awareness. So this is another critical piece of our bullying awareness and prevention. In addition, we've got this amazing suite. It's called Suite 360. It's an intervention program for students who need that extra support with conduct and behavior. And as you can see, there are a lot of layers involved, but really it turns discipline into a learning opportunity. It provides students with a lesson plan that's tailored to the infraction, to that misbehavior. And it's an intervention piece because it really helps to promote that positive behavior and how this individual can make things right and turn their behavior around. Now, these K through 12 lesson plans are all grade appropriate, and they were all created by content experts.
And you might hear Suite 360 mentioned by your students or by others around. Don't think, okay, now that's an intervention for a discipline, what's going on, because the district does use Suite 360 in order to address our mental health requirement by the state. It uses it for our requirements for training on human trafficking and other issues, so that they are using that as curriculum-based. We were fortunate when the district was able to purchase Suite 360 that it came with an intervention platform that we are able to use for our interventions and preventative measures as well. So the portion of Suite 360 that this slide and our next slide represents shows the intervention platform portion of Suite 360 that we are taking advantage of to use when we are looking at very specific trend data on a campus, supports for level 1 discipline infractions that do not get out of school or in school suspension, but need a approach to it to help correct the behavior and give them substance behind why they need to have that respect for others, that kindness, those skills that would help stop that level 1 behavior from progressing to higher discipline infractions.
Thank you. And, you know, as school administrators all have access to the Suite 360 crosswalk. This crosswalk really maps out those specific lessons that are age appropriate and align seamlessly with some of the misbehavior that may have been witnessed. Our Safe School site is rich with resources to report bullying, to find those bullying lesson plans, those investigation tools, and other resources. So within our portal, school administrators, teachers, and such have this at their disposal should they need additional resources, and clearly we're always there for them as well.
And that is our last slide. We do have one on the other version that's on Mr. Oswald's computer that has our names, our email addresses, and a cute little guy sitting there on a question mark for you to have time for any additional questions and answers.
All right. So turn it back over to Chair to take. And we'll open up. I'll go ahead and take the questions at this time. Since
Any questions?
yeah, we have we have Ms. Blanco, Ms. Kenny.
Go ahead, Ms. Blanco. You were first.
Oh, thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, since when has the district been implementing this specific anti-bullying strategy, or is it new?
Lost you there at the end on your question, Ms. Blanco?
Last year?
No, I missed your whole question. It was,
Oh, my apologies. So I wanted to know how long this has been in place. How long have schools in the district had this plan, or when was this implemented? When was
so, well, we've been addressing it, we've always addressed bullying, and things changed over time. Jeffrey Johnson Act kind of changed things considerably in Florida. That was put out, I want to say, in the maybe mid-2000s, early 2000s, based on what happened to Jeffrey and, his bullying in school in Florida. Since that time, we've evolved over time on the strategies to address this, because obviously bullying is probably one of our top issues as a school district that constantly needs to be addressed daily, and trying to find better strategies and avenues. We keep evolving on that, looking for the grant opportunities to address it, constantly working on climate. So I don't think I have an exact start date. I think it's just evolved over time.
And how often are school administrators and staff supposed to be taking anti-bullying trainings? How often do they have like refreshers or?
So there's certain ones that are required, such as, I think you talked about the Title IX. So the Title IX training is required for all. And I think is there a refresher they get on that?
There's a refresher every other year.
There's a refresher on the Title IX every other year. And then depending on the group, there's going to be different specialized population of training. So for example, PBS coordinators will get training that's required that addresses how to analyze their data, and then how do they pick up strategies if they see bullying as a concern based on their data. Or so different groups of employees will have different responsibilities of training. So,
and all staff has to be trained on this, including like say people who work at the front desk, teachers, obviously counselors.
Yes, our Title IX training, which we infuse our bullying training and awareness within it, along with the teen dating violence, is required of all staff district-wide. The statute actually requires K-12 facilities to be trained. We, as a district, have elected to say that no, we will do this. All district employees are required to do training every other year. Another piece to it is, in addition to that all training, every administrator, all APs on campus and principals are required to have that administrative training on how to look at the climate on their campus, how to address it, report it, document what safeguards look like. And we are at a point to where we monitor our district agendas, and new hires get that welcome to your job. Thank you for becoming an assistant principal in our district. By the way, we want to see you sometime in the next 2 weeks to discuss bullying and Title IX prevention. So we are training them as they are onboarded, and the online training is set up to automatically enroll as soon as they change jobs, so that they are getting the level of training needed for the job in which they are doing.
And then just one last question. I'm wondering if, I haven't obviously seen, you guys had a great presentation. I can see that there's a lot of great tools being implemented. Just in being realistic in the experiences that we see here at the center, I'm wondering if part of the anti-bullying training deals with personal biases against like other groups and things of that nature, because that's something that we see often, and we constantly have to get lawyers involved. We've had to do that twice this year with 2 different schools in the district, specifically for bullying. So I wanted to know if that's part of the trainings.
Do you want to take that, Dee? Because
You're on the committee that worked with our multicultural? Yeah.
So as part of our multicultural, the Welcome and Inclusive Committee, we've gotten, we put together different levels of training that is done school-wide for all administrators as well as teachers on that campus. So through that training and implementation components, we've really infused that into all of our different schools. And that's how we've been able to address those biases that we see, that we may see on our campus.
But on the investigative part, we do investigate based off of race, gender.
Oh, right, absolutely.
And that is part of the training in Infuse about subpopulations of students who may be targeted based on religion, all those type of factors, ethnicity. So yes.
And going back to your question regarding the training, that's a lot of our training is really ongoing. For example, the training that we do for administrators, we do that through the division, AP division meetings. We do that through our principal portfolio meetings. We do that through the Aspiring Principals Leadership Program, training modules. So, and it's on an ongoing basis. We don't stipulate we're only doing this once. So it's really something that we target on a regular basis.
Ms. Kenny?
Thank you. I have a couple specific questions as well, but on that note, I did want to bring up, I know Ms. Wyatt, we emailed a couple of times about trying to actually review those trainings in the DDEC subcommittee that's focused on trainings. I know that you all are busy and we're busy, and I think it just kind of got lost, but I do think that we are still interested in actually viewing the content of those trainings through a diverse and equitable lens, because I think all of us have discussed in that subcommittee our personal experiences as people with our boots on the ground, that that there is definitely bias happening. And on that note, I would ask if we can go back to the slide of the numbers of bullying incidents that are reported compared to the bullying incidents that are actually acted upon. If we could go back to that slide and go a little bit deeper into that, I have some questions about kind of what instances would be, thrown out as non-legitimate. Who are the people, who are the gatekeepers in that? If you could just kind of explain why there's such a big difference in number between the cases reported and the cases that are resolved.
So we're working on going to that. I mean, I could tell you probably the biggest issue, because that was a question I had first, is we don't have enough information of any names of people to talk to. But Dee, if you want to go more deeper.
Every single report that comes in is reviewed. Many times there's not enough information to complete an investigation. So perhaps the names of the individual that is the alleged victim is not named, only the alleged aggressor. So clearly we've got limited information to go on. When the student is interviewed, if we don't have enough information to complete a comprehensive investigation, we can't move forward. We need to have who is the victim, who is the aggressor, what exactly took place in order to really conclude an investigation. So some of those forms that are submitted are really frivolous. They,
And by frivolous, we get reports where when they ask for the name of the aggressor, you get, XXPHTF, just letters where they're just typing whatever comes up and there's no words within it that can be discernible. Or you get a piece that says, the kid in my math class is bothering me. They don't identify who they are, what school they attend, or so that you can't figure out which math class it is. We have reports that come in that say, this is for ABC Elementary School. Diane is being bullied every day. Well, we send it to ABC Elementary School and they go through SIS and they look up every Diane and they go look and see, is anything going on, what's happening? And they investigate to the point they can based off of what they have. But we do get a lot because it is easy access on the student portal that when, and we can kind of tell from the times that they come in, when you've got a group of kids that have finished early on an assignment and now they all decide to go to the portal and submit a couple of bullying reports. And we get a bunch of them coming in at the same time with just vague information. But Dr. Ramos Cruz looks at each of them. We have it set to where we can pull the administrator from the school identified very quickly and get that information out to them. And they search high as they can to figure out who the problem is, what's going on, and how to resolve it. But a lot of them do come in as pranked pieces that we have to shuffle through and to find the ones that have the actual information.
We see a similar pattern in Fortify Florida. So the Fortify Florida app is the anonymous app for school violence. We do sometimes get tips of bullying in those, but often what we'll see is just students who will say things like, I don't like this class, hey, this teacher's great, or just things that really have nothing to do with the purpose of the actual app. Or in some situations, not enough information to figure out what school or what student to follow up with. So what we work to do is to educate people about how to complete those more accurately based on what we learn over the years.
So I get, okay, so that was my next question is it made clear that there are required pieces of information on the Google form? And if those pieces of information are not included, then it will not be acted upon?
We are working with administration in order to talk to them that not only do we share the way in which to report, but the needed information within that report. So they are working during their school assemblies. They'll be recycling to that as we're helping them build a slide deck for the return from winter break to reset the standard expectations on campus. That's one of the pieces that's added as well for those student presentations to talk about what we need in order to act upon in order to keep them safe. That we've got, they can still remain anonymous, but give us enough information about what's going on to help for those that are helping to protect their peers. And for those that are wanting us to act upon situations in which they are not comfortable in.
And we do, to that point, Ms. Kent, we do create, based on patterns that we see, presentations in that SharePoint site that you saw. So based on patterns that we would see in discipline data or in SEQ data, things that we want principals to get ahead of universally so that we can say all schools did X, Y, Z. So this would be an example where we need more information. And making sure that students, if you're reporting bullying, to make sure that it's more complete and that we have all the information that we need to act upon it. So it's a continuous improvement process that we work through till we get more of these so we can act on them.
I think that the main reason that students wouldn't provide their own name when they are the victim is because, as Kimberly Spiro said in the chat, and we've discussed before, many times the victim gets blamed for whatever incident happened. And so the trust is not there between students and administration, that the administration will protect the victim. I've seen it happen many, many, many times within my own affinity group, like the LGBTQ students. So I just want to flag that because I know that, as there's always a big gap between district personnel and the students, and how can we bridge that gap? So it comes down again, I know this is a holistic approach that you all are taking, but the trust just is not there. And so students are afraid to submit their own names, and so I think that needs to be addressed. My other question is about the repetition piece. How many times does a student need to be harassed before it is considered bullying?
And that's part of the investigation process. There's not a set number, right? Repetition is more than once. But that even if it's only happened once, maybe that means it has the potential to happen again. And that comes along with that imbalance of power, and it's being done on purpose. So really, it comes down to the investigation piece and making sure that those follow-up actions of prevention are put in place. Those safeguards, those support measures to ensure that it doesn't happen.
And even one incident could be obviously extremely significant in a student's life, something posted on social media, et cetera, could be pretty dramatic. So it's still going to get investigated. It could be coded, so some of these incidents, they maybe don't meet the definition of bullying. However, we have other definitions or other codes in our discipline referrals that things often get coded as well. You know, inappropriate activity or severe inappropriate activity, or so harassment. So sometimes it falls under a different category. And as far as blaming a victim, obviously that's not acceptable for anybody to do. And I think part of it goes into your last question. Did it meet the definition of bullying? And where we're trying to get into more and working with principal supervisors, because obviously there's some schools that do need to improve climate a lot more, because students are not, clearly from our SEQ data, students are perceiving that it's an issue. And until we change that, which kind of leads into our new strategic plan under the mental health theme, there's a couple of initiatives that we're going to be working on. I say the biggest one, and Diane, I think this is yours, is that every student can identify one caring adult that they can turn to for support on a school campus. So that's a big feat, but before I ever retire, that's going to be one of the big milestones, is that we're able to systematically quantify that every student has that on a campus. So if something does happen, they can turn to someone quickly for support, and that they can identify and actually name. So that's where we're trying to go deeper in the new strategic plan. Any other, did it answer all your questions, Ms. Kenny?
It does. I had one more question, but I'll let other people go. I don't want to take up all the time.
I think Dr. Mendez, you're next.
Yes. My question is regarding the definition of bullying, because I see that includes purpose, and I'm thinking that that may be a limitation of the definition. It also focused mostly on students, and that's another definition, another limitation of the definition. I have, unfortunately, proof of teachers systematically bullying students. And it's not on purpose, I want to think. I want to think it's biases, but it does have an effect on the students, on the school climate, and on the students' ability to learn and to feel well in the school. So I wonder how that is addressed. And I think someone mentioned after I raised my hand that there is some training on implicit bias and things like that, and I hope that will address it. But I want to make sure that teachers think that their training is not just for them to teach their students about implicit bias, but to recognize also their own implicit bias and how that affects the way in which they treat students, specifically students of color, which is the information I have on students being mistreated.
Sure. So on implicit bias, we have done some training in the past, but we do need to do more of that. Actually, Ms. Simmons and I were just talking about this yesterday, about really how do we go deeper in that and what approach. So that is on the agenda to bring forward. As far as when it comes to a teacher and bullying or any kind of inappropriate behavior towards a student, typically, but not always, it could be anything across from administratively handled or through our professional standards department to investigate and handle it. And I've seen it across the board in different avenues. I don't know if typically if we see and get reports of teacher on student, we turn over to professional standards that's our typical protocol, to investigate.
The problem with that is that, as you say, bullying implies a difference of power, and because of this difference of power, many, many times students don't say a word till they're done with the school year. And that's the case, as I know, after they're done with elementary school, they're like, I'm so glad I'm not in the school because this teacher did that to me, and this other teacher did that to me. So those are the things that we really need to address from a perspective of improving how our teachers treat other people.
Absolutely. And creating that safe and supportive climate in every classroom is what we really work towards every day with PBS. And you're right. Unfortunately, are there some bad apples out there that, maybe intentionally or unintentionally don't know what they're doing, is where we have to sift out to ensure that no students experience that kind of environment and feels affirmed and supported, just as our stated in our mission statement.
Can I toss one other piece in? Yeah. As Mr. Oswald said, one of the pieces with the strategic plan that I'm overseeing is having that one caring adult for all kids. One of the first things that I said with that is, are we equipping the adults with having the skills needed to be that caring adult? Because when a student comes to you and they're trusting you with the issues that they're having, is the adult they're approaching truly equipped to handle the situations once we start building those relationships? So we will be, in working with that strategic plan initiative, working on preparing the adult as well as helping make those matches. So that will definitely be addressed during that preparation and rollout of this, and getting everyone having someone they can count on.
Ms. Cordero?
Hi there. My question is a little bit more on the practical side and referring to the trainings, but with parents. I know you mentioned that you do trainings for parents through, I think you said SAC and maybe Bridges, but what about other community organizations like us? Would we have access to some of those trainings to work with our parents? Because I think our parents need to be trained to identify this also in their kids, because sometimes bullying is happening outside of the school as well.
I do get requests for community trainings. We've been to church organizations and other groups. We're doing Parent University in just a few weeks at one of our middle schools as well. So anyone that wants to approach, luckily Dr. Ramos Cruz has the road show going, and we look at what's needed for that group, what they're specifically requesting, and how we can go about providing that. So definitely welcome anyone wishing to have information shared community-wide. We will sign up and be there to help support.
And we do work it into the presentations, to your point. A lot of times it is a lack of communication or understanding of how to handle the situation. So trying to work this into not just SAC meetings, but orientations, student orientation, parent orientations, all the time is really how we try to build out those presentations for school administrators to use. But definitely an area that has to be improved upon. Did that address your question, Ms. Cordero?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Whittle?
Yes, thank you. I just want, obviously all of us have a lot of concerns, and students with disabilities are bullied at significantly high rates. And I'm sure that's with a lot of groups on this call. But I just wanted to say that this is a topic that definitely the subcommittee has brought up, and I think and we have talked about this, and so I think it would be definitely a great topic to bring to the subcommittee on professional development.
So with the subcommittee, so as you saw, there's a lot of different type of trainings. There's a lot of one-offs. So, and that's why I wanted you to see the whole presentation, because it's a little more complicated. It's not cut and dry. Like there's just these particular presentations. So where I'll need guidance on is really where are you looking at when it comes to the training on that piece? Yeah, you
In
can-
my-
go ahead, Nat.
And one of the things that I'd like to say in terms of community outreach, we just completed a segment done through our TV network, Friday 5, that went out district-wide to all employees and to every single parent in the district. And it's a YouTube segment, about 15 minutes long, that goes over our bullying awareness and prevention initiatives throughout the district, and exactly what bullying looks like, the reporting, and what we do through our department to support. And that went out district-wide just a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and this may, I think I think as a subcommittee, we need to kind of unpack all the different parts that we might want to be looking at. So I think as a subcommittee, you're right, there is a lot of information here. But I think it might be something that we might need to take time as a subcommittee and unpack each one so that we can provide valuable feedback for each of those different parts.
Yes, great. And Ms. Kennedy, just before you that, Ms. Blanco, on your question, if a student makes a report, even if it's not bullying, so also if bullying or harassment is investigated and it's unsubstantiated, it still does get filed. Also, it might be, an incident report might be filed under a different code outside of bullying or harassment possible as well. Ms. Kenny?
Sorry.
Yeah, on Ms. Whittle's note, in regards to the subcommittee, there are a lot of trainings. I think we are most interested in what the gatekeepers are, meaning like the assistant principals, people that are receiving the bullying reports and making the decisions about next steps. So I'm not that interested in parent trainings or even student trainings, because we as community members, we have access to that information, and a lot of us do that work ourselves. It's more like if I was an assistant principal, new assistant principal, what training would I receive when it comes to handling bullying situations, these interventions, as you call them? So if we could start with that information, I think the subcommittee is on the same page about that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Blanco?
Sorry, I just have one final question. So for the online reporting for students, how would students know to report that? How do they know? Like if I asked a group of high schoolers that comes to help us every afternoon how to report bullying online, would they know how to do it?
I hope they would, but we can go through the numerous ways we explain that.
Yep, we do
Okay.
have, when they log on to the portal, there is a place that's for them to click and goes directly to our bullying report. We have bullying report posters in 4 different languages that are available for our schools, and they have them posted. We've put QR codes on them so that as they're walking down the hall, they're able to scan with their phone and keep walking and not be as observable that they're using the bullying report. There's also drop boxes in the schools for them, but the students, the messaging around schools is really key to getting that out there. And Mr. Oswald is sharing his screen.
So I want to show you, so this is the portal, right? So this is like if I were signing into my portal, same for the students. You'll see right here, the bullying hotline. It's the first thing you see. So when you're logging in, so each day when you log in, et cetera, that is the pop-up.
Okay, thank you.
That's one avenue, and I want to say too.
Yep. And we have, the See Something, Say Something posters
Fortify
all
Florida.
over that deal with Fortify Florida, deal with our bullying report and hotline. Now, the hotline itself is a little unique. It is when they call the number, it's not a person answering, it is a recording that says to please leave your message. That message, as soon as they hang up, it's automatically emailed to a team within my department that gets that into their email immediately. So they're able to listen to the message, see what school they're reporting about, and then my team gets it to those AP principals right away. So it then is sent to them. So they're able to listen to it. There have been times where we've been able to listen and then the administrator goes, I know exactly which student that is. And they're able to get there and support and do that part. Dr. Ramos Cruz monitors this all the time. It is not unusual for her several times a month to send me a text, give me a call on the weekend saying, Di, I need you to go look at this report that just came in. I think we need to have a safety check on this child, or to have school police do something immediately because we do not feel that they are in a safe place. So some of the reports that come in do come in that are critical. We do state, this is monitored during the day, if this is emergency, call 911, but at the same time, my team is still looking at it because they do not want anyone in an unsafe environment immediately. And students look and they think, oh, I remember that number, let me call it. And we've had students that have said, I am calling this number because my girlfriend is threatening to hurt herself. And we've sent, I've called 911 immediately and gotten help to that child's house. So it is one that is set up to be monitored during the day, but because of the caring staff that I'm fortunate to have, we are looking at it at all times.
Okay, I know we're running down on time. Looks like we have all the questions addressed. Hopefully that was helpful to the group to understand more holistically, and then we'll work on that for the subcommittee for January. And I know also during this, in the new business, is just talk about topics for January. I know we had a couple of things we talked about, I wanted to talk about with the strategic plan and the equity tool, but open up, Mr. Chair, if there's anything else for consideration for January on that particular topic.
Well, what I'm thinking here is, I'm sorry. As we are discussing, this program obviously is a very intense, very important program that needs a lot of attention and a lot of awareness. And given the fact that the parents of the kids don't necessarily knows what's really going on in the school because they don't pay attention or they don't have the time, they are double working. So maybe have to be another ways to create awareness, through the local media, whether it's in Spanish, Creole, English, the whole thing. And also coming up is the Fiesta de Pueblo event, which is the largest multicultural event in Palm Beach County. This is going to be the 13th year, and it's celebrated at the Green Acres Community Park. But the school district participate, and information about this program there for the parents. The last time we had it live and living color, we have over 12,000 people who attended, between 12 noon and 9:45 at night. And the presence of the parents, the kids, the students, was really amazing. So awareness in different languages that day at the table that the school district always have will be a key factor.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll compare with them.
We will definitely work on getting some of that information out there as well. It's a great suggestion. If y'all didn't catch that, Fiesta de Pueblo is coming up.
Fiesta, and I'm good.
Fiesta de Pueblo, January the 7th at the Samuel Ferrari Community Park on Jog and 10th Avenue in the city of Green Acres.
Okay, and Suzanne signed off. We're losing quorum. So again, so I think I have kind of marching orders for bringing topics. Anything else really quickly before we wrap up today?
I just have a quick announcement, and it's about Trans Day of Remembrance and Trans Awareness Week. I know Pete Stewart touched on it a little bit, but this time of year is when we take account of the trans lives that were lost due to anti-trans violence and really remember them. So 32 trans people were killed due to anti-trans violence in the US in the past year. and that's not to mention the hundreds of others internationally. By far, most of them are people of color, specifically Black trans women make up about 50% of the lives lost. And this is all due to a culture of bias against transgender individuals. So I just wanted to lift that up and really take the time to remember like our siblings that we have lost in the past year and beyond. And this weekend, the event that I'm helping put together is on Saturday, and it's an art and fashion show to not only remember those we lost, but celebrate the trans artists and designers and people that are still here. So we'll be showcasing some designs and some art by trans artists. It's at 7 p.m. in downtown West Palm Beach, and I can send the event info through Susan if anyone would like to see that. But I just wanted to take a moment and just raise awareness for the transgender community and what they go through.
And that's this weekend?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's on
you could-
Saturday at 7 p.m.
Can you send it right now to
Yep.
her, and then she'll send it out?
Yep, I will.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're gonna wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, we want to, before I forget, Charmaine Postel, she sent me a message that she wants to wish everybody amazing Thanksgiving. She's in the middle right now, unfortunately, of her aunt passed away. She was in the middle of funeral services, that kind of thing. But she wanted to say hello to everybody and wish everybody an excellent holidays coming up. Any other questions, comments? Please.
Pete Stewart again, Teaching and Learning. If I could just follow up with what Ms. Kinney said in regards to our presentation today. The research indicates, particularly the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, that our LGBTQ plus students disproportionately experience bullying and violence at schools. So I just want to thank both of you for your fantastic presentation. I also saw your interview with Rick Blackwell. That was great and is out there for everybody. And so happy that we're bringing in the Teen Mental Health First Aid, which is done in collaboration with the Born This Way Foundation. And so it does touch on this issue within that training. So absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Any other comment? Well, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Looking forward to see you. Wish you all well.
Enjoy.
And enjoy, and to have some fun, stop at Fiesta de Pueblo, January 7th. Remember, it's Epiphany celebration. Epiphany is the Santa Claus for the Hispanic kids. That's when they break presents in the middle of the night. Reyes Magos. So, looking forward to see you
So
all.
are you sending the information
Which one?
We'll send both.
on that event? Okay, great.
okay.
Thank you.
We'll send it.
Yeah, the one Ms. Kenny was speaking to, we'll send today, and then the other one, as soon as you send over.
Perfect,
This
thanks.
is in January, so we got a little more time. All right, great. You all have a great holidays. Talk to you
Thank you,
soon.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I'm going to move to the fourth seat that I occupied during this